All right, and so did want to make sure that we were good to go here on this side. Also want to put this up on the screen. These are some of the charges that have been announced against the accused Kirk killer: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily harm, obstruction of justice, 2 counts of this, witness tampering, 2 counts of this, commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child. And so really so much to unpack here. And so now want to bring into the conversation friend to the show and legal analyst Jeremy Rosenthal. Jeremy, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. These details, I wasn't anticipating to learn this much information from such an early press conference. I'm going to put the charges back up on the screen so everyone at home can see them. But I want you to talk a little bit more about what you also know behind the scenes as these charges have been filed, of course, with the major one of aggravated murder carrying a potential death penalty sentence.
We knew that this was going to be the legal angle here. And we knew that this was always going to be the one that the thing that the authorities pursued. They made it very clear from the first get-go that they wanted to seek the death penalty. The facts that we're learning, it's interesting because they did also say, look, well, we don't want to prejudice this too much. I think they said he's got a 5th and 6th Amendment right to a fair trial, which obviously we know that that's the case. But at the same time, we also know that they did reveal a lot of new and different things that we hadn't known before. Some details, some more of the specifics about his chat, some more of the specifics about the dealings with his parents. So we are sort of learning and piecing this together. The main issue that we did have questions about was what theory were they going to use to go to the death penalty. They said in the indictment that it was his political leanings, that it was Charlie Kirk's political leanings that were being targeted. That was one of the reasons. Another one of the reasons that they said was also the on top of that, that these were done in the presence of children. So those are both aggravating factors that they're saying triggers the death penalty in these instances. That was sort of the million-dollar question here, which was, are they going to seek the death penalty? I think we all knew that that was going to happen. The question would be, how are they seeking the death penalty? All the other information that we're learning in many ways is just kind of is sort of added. And yes, we did learn a lot today.
And so as we're talking about some of this as well here with Jeremy Rosenthal, I have to ask you, we touched on a piece of it. You even just spoke about it a bit now, talking about how he's entitled to a fair trial. But with all of this information coming out, how hard is it going to be not to taint a jury? If anyone who has any interest in this case, especially there in Utah, which this was a very high profile, we're talking about this as the news spreads all around the world. It's so easy for someone to just get on Google, see what's going on, even if it's just brief. How would you be able to have a clear and fair trial, especially in a venue like this, where this has affected so many people?
It's going to be very difficult. I think that much is certain. And to go back to last summer, the most recognizable human on the planet had a trial. That would be Donald Trump in New York State. And tragically, and I say it in all sincerity, tragically, we can find people that don't know who Donald Trump was, and we can find people who don't have an opinion about him. So I venture to say that in Utah, there will probably be some folks that don't have that maybe aren't as familiar with this, or maybe haven't drawn conclusions or opinions about this. The defense will have the ability to strike jurors who can't be fair. The prosecution will have the ability to strike jurors that can't be fair. And what you're left with are, it's hard to be neutral with this story. It simply is. And what I think you're going to find is that they're going to sift through 2,000, 5,000 jurors to get 12 people who either aren't dug in one way or the other, or who have their head buried in the sand so far that they simply don't know much about this story. Unfortunately and tragically, there's people out there that are so uninformed that they can serve on the jury, and almost as unfortunately, they're going to be the ones that decide the fate of this case.
And so is there a possible venue change here? Would you see that also being on the table?
There could be a venue change, but the venue would not be it would not go out of Utah. It wouldn't go out of the state of Utah. It may be out of that immediate vicinity, in that immediate area, and you might be able to seat a jury there. I would say, if anything, you're going to go to some of the more populated areas in the state, because you're going to have deeper jury pools in somewhere like Salt Lake, or somewhere that's more populated than this community, because you're just going to have to go through a lot of people. But again, if you can seat a jury for Donald Trump, if you can find people who either don't recognize the man or don't have an opinion about him, if you can sift through enough people there, then you can probably find one for Tyler Robinson.
And so also, as we're taking a live look there outside of the courtroom where Tyler Robinson is expected to appear today, this is for his first appearance. Jeremy, what are we going to be seeing once this happens? Are we going to even hear from him potentially? We haven't heard from him at all. We've really even haven't seen him since he's been arrested. Only photos have been released. So this will be the first time we're able to see him both on video, but possibly audibly hear him as well.
If you do hear him, it's going to be very brief. It's going to be some questions that are sort of perfunctory. Does he understand the charges against him? The court's almost certainly going to enter in a not guilty plea, or his lawyer will do it for him. You'll certainly see him. Today is going to be pretty formal, and I don't know that we're going to see a whole lot that's that is unscripted, if you will. He will be informed of his rights. He'll be informed of the calendar, the schedule, how things are going to go. The court's going to sort of lay out a lot of those things, how the case is going to proceed. And so I think today's going to be a lot about scheduling. He will also, I think, apply for bail, which, again, I'm almost certain would be denied here. So I think this is going to be pretty scripted. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of surprises here, but you're going to get a lot of photos of the guy, and there's going to be a lot of camera shots. And so I think everybody's going to have their B-roll ready for a long time now, with the shots that you're going to get of him in the courtroom. But I don't know that you'll hear from him, and if you do, it's not going to be a whole lot.
All right. And Jeremy, the other interesting thing that I picked up from this press conference, they talked a lot about the roommate's role, the messages, saying that they were combing through them really during that press conference, reading things verbatim as though they're saying as part of that evidence. I have to ask you, where does the roommate now stand in this case? We do know that he's agreed to cooperate with authorities. Could he still potentially, or he or she, I'm sorry, I don't want to misgender anyone, could they still potentially be charged as a portion of this? Or is it more likely that the defense or the prosecution, I should say, will use them as a key witness?
They're absolutely going to be a key witness. And if the roommate came to me to ask legal advice, or if I was representing them, we would handle this extremely delicately. And we would handle our interactions with the government, with the police, very, very carefully, very deliberately. I might even ask for some kind of immunity, even if the facts didn't even seem to merit it. From what we've heard, the governor, Spencer Cox, indicated that the roommate was surprised about this, didn't know about it. But even that being the case, if you're the roommate, you certainly don't want to be accused of taking part of this, even after the fact, because obviously, if you're an accessory to this type of a crime, you're on the hook for it just yourself. And the punishment being so severe, you absolutely want to stay a million miles away from it. The roommate won't be able to do that. They're absolutely going to be a material witness, almost certainly for the prosecution here to prove it up, and even in theory for the defense. If the defense thinks that they can use the roommate for some benefit of their own, then they can do that as well. But definitely the legal situation of the roommate, I think, is one of it's a lot of pressure, and if that person came to my office, we would have a really long talk about how we're going to approach dealing with law enforcement here.
Does the parents, do they fall in that same sort of boat, being that they're also cooperating with law enforcement? In fact, we know that it was his own father who was able to contact someone else to help get Robinson to turn himself in. Interesting also, piece that we didn't know, we found out that it was his mother who recognized him from photos that were released and put on, of course, splashed all across news stations. We were showing them ourselves. Kind of also adds to the importance of some of that getting out there in the early stages.
Right. I think the parents are maybe a step more attenuated than the roommate as being a suspect, if you will. Obviously, when somebody is romantically involved with somebody, and how many of us go and tell our parents all of the things that we're planning to do, especially when it's a terrible, horrific crime that's yet to be committed in the future. So I think that naturally, I think that we're probably not going to suspect the parents of that, but they are going to be material witnesses just the same. Is it possible that they had some more involvement before the fact or even after the fact that we don't know about, that could land them in some trouble? It's possible, but I think we have every reason to think that Tyler Robinson in this case, in this situation, is, if he didn't act alone, he is certainly the main perpetrator here, and I think that law enforcement tends to kind of take that attitude and tends to take that focus. We'll see if anybody else is in hot water over this. I think we would be sniffing it out by now publicly, but you never know.
You never do know. And so I also want to put up this post on the screen from Attorney General Pam Bondi, and then we'll be able to let you go in just a second here, Jeremy. But this also, she's speaking about the hate speech portion, saying hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It is a crime. For far too long, we've watched the radical left normalize threats, calling for assassinations, and cheer on political violence. That era is over. And so, of course, this is from the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. She's there within the Trump administration. So she's going to be adding some of the political element into it. But that's really what so many people have that question about, Jeremy. Where is the line between hate speech and the First Amendment right? Is there a clear line, or is this something that always tends to end up in court, so that way there's some sort of differentiation that can be made in a case-by-case stance?
So the answer is it's always going to be a touch blurrier than we like. The difference is what is called a true threat. A true threat is conduct, and conduct is not protected by the First Amendment. Speech is protected by the First Amendment. So the question is what legally constitutes a true threat? A true threat is something that is imminent, it's immediate, it is going to happen, it is an imminent threat of some type of bodily injury. It can be, I will kill you, or I'm in a setting where that's realistic, right? I think we've seen instances where people make online threats, and the question is that imminent enough? If it's a vague threat, if it's something that's a little more attenuated than that, then chances are it's going to be protected. If it's tough talk, chances are that it's going to be protected. A true threat is something that is immediate, it is imminent, and it is a threat that puts the fear down your back, down your spine. That is going to be sort of what a true threat is, but it's always going to be a little bit fuzzy and a little bit blurry. And of course, naturally, we would expect the Department of Justice to take a very tough stand on this and take a very aggressive stand. But the courts are always going to sort of evaluate those things. And it is a controversial area, and it's a true First Amendment battleground, the difference between a true threat and just tough talk.
And so, of course, we'll continue to follow all of this here on Live Now from Fox. As always, we appreciate Jeremy Rosenthal for hopping on so quickly, really to break down the information. Jeremy, we learned a lot here today, but what else should we be on the lookout for? I know, again, that we're expecting to see the suspect appear in court for the first time. You added some context as to what we expect that to look like, but anything else we should be on the lookout for?
I'm looking for two things. The first is I'm looking to see whether or not the federal government's going to get involved from a prosecution standpoint. Obviously, the FBI has been weighing in on this. They've been assisting in a very big way. Do they have what it takes to make this case federal? That would be some type of interstate movement from one state to another. Had a lot of that in Luigi Mangione's case, but then again, he's on the East Coast where you can sneeze in New Jersey and then it winds up in New York. Here, you've only got things that we've heard about happening in Utah so far. So that's going to be one thing that the feds are looking for. Also, a terroristic intent, right? Is the impact going to be somewhat broader than just the animus that Tyler Robinson had towards Charlie Kirk? That's going to be one thing. Also, keep an eye on whether or not other people are going to be accused here, or if they're going to accuse somebody of helping him. Those I think, are going to be the big things that I'm watching out for in the next week or so.
There's really so much to unpack as it pertains to this case. And once again, the accused Kirk assassin is set to appear in court today. But as always, we appreciate Jeremy Rosenthal for being with us here on Live Now to break down some of the details as they are coming out very fresh. We just wanted to make sure we could wrap our heads around it. We appreciate you as always, Jeremy.
Have a great day.